We represent over 100 million people in this country, so it comes with a great deal of gravitas, I think, in the political realm, because it represents such a large number and they're such large agencies. So that's important to have that kind of peer communication and professionalism that helps us all get better. Oakland County's between 1.2 and 1.3 million. We're very diverse. Our northern parts have some very rural area. If you happen to be in one of our substations in the north part of the county, you might get a cow got out of the field in the middle of the night call. And then we have very developed suburban, and we have urban. We have the city of Pontiac, where we're the contract police agency. So like many sheriff's offices, we do contracts, and we are your local police department under a contract. And then for the rest of the county, we provide support services, forensics, DNA, helicopter, dogs, narcotics enforcement, auto theft, computer crimes, SWAT, etc. Well, I had been in law enforcement for, well over a decade, and I went into the political world because, frankly, I thought a lot of the people in the political world didn't understand the law enforcement world. And I realized over time that it wasn't operating in a vacuum, that much of what we do in law enforcement is related to who writes the laws and who adjudicates the laws. So I wanted to help write some laws that would be on point for law enforcement. So while I was in the political realm, I rose to be the majority floor leader of the Senate. So I was a senator, and the sheriff passed away in office. And a lot of folks in law enforcement asked me to come back into law enforcement and take over the sheriff's office. And once you're a law enforcement person at heart, you kind of always are. So I was excited to do it. It made sense to me on lots of levels, both in terms of being back in that environment, which I love, working with men and women that have the same kind of passion for law enforcement, which I love, being in an environment where people have your back, they don't try to stab you in the back, which I love. So there was a lot of things that drew me back, and I've been here now. I'm in my 21st year as the sheriff. A lot of what we're doing today, we didn't have to do then. Now we've become kind of the de facto mental health provider, especially in sheriff's offices, because the jails, I've seen my population go from about 8% on psychotropic meds to over 30%. So as society has walked away from being, the mental health providers and having a continuum of services and supporting the mental health community, as they walked away from that, we've become kind of the default, which really isn't the best environment at all. So mental health, emotionally disturbed persons is very much part of our daily routine in law enforcement. Counterterrorism, all of these are really add-ons. We used to have a specific kind of set of duties, arrest the bad guy, keep the peace. When I first started, now it's multi-layered. It's community programming to find where there may be a need and try to fill it. We started the Sheriff Pal, which is a program to give mentoring and sports to kids because they didn't have any in some of our communities. So we look to fill really what our society voids, not necessarily law enforcement, but it's important to us because that helps not only the community, it helps deepen our relationships with the community, number two, and number three, long-term, hopefully it will keep some of the kids and the people we touch from going down the wrong path. So there's so many other avenues and things that we're tasked with today in order to be successful as a community. One of the other programs we do with a charity partner called Variety Feeds Kids, because this one community has 85+% of its population under the poverty line. They're eligible for school lunches and feeding programs, etc. But they don't have a lot of sustenance at home. So we partnered with this one charity, and we actually, with this charity, the deputies hand out the food, which builds relationships with the kids. We feed 3 total elementaries from Friday till they get back at school on Monday. We send them home with a bag of food that will carry them through the weekend. And for a lot of those kids, that's the only food they'll have, for the next 2-3 days. And when we first started doing it with the deputies, the kids were a little bit, afraid of the police officer. Most people are. They see a police officer in the rearview mirror, or they see somebody walking up and you're like, oh, you check your speedometer if you're in a car, or whatever the case may be, because police tend to be the disciplinarian of society. So everyone looks at them like, oh my gosh, a little bit afraid. And to break that down, you have to build relationships so that you're not seeing the uniform, you're seeing the person. And so this program has allowed those kids that initially were apprehensive about this police uniform standing there, now they come up and they high-five the deputy, they show them their report card, they know each other's names, now they're friends. And if we continue this all the way through their school career, hopefully we can recruit some of them into law enforcement, and we continue to grow the relationships and encourage the young kids to be the change.